It's another episode of what makes this company great. And the company today is Netflix. Boom. So, is Netflix a world class company? Does it have a competitive advantage that is revealed in its financial performance? That's the question we're going to try to answer today. So, this map I created and have just been working on this morning to try to understand the four regions. The first region, US, Canada, Netflix generates $14 billion in revenue. That's 13%. That's up 13%, mainly driven by revenue per user. Right now in the US, Netflix is generating about $15 per user, and they have 76 million members. Well, basically, you could argue that Netflix has fully penetrated the US and Canada. And as a result, the only way to increase that revenue number is to increase the revenue per user, which is a challenge, right? Now, let's look at Europe, Middle East, and Africa, where they're generating a whopping $10 billion in revenue. This has risen by 7%, so it's slower growing, and it's coming from a rising number of members. The membership being paid in Europe, Middle East, and Africa is $12 per member, and there's 80 million members. So membership is already pretty big. There's still opportunity for sure compared to the US as far as members concerned. But what you can see is the opportunity to start to increase the revenue per member is the key opportunity for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And let's look at Asia. In Asia, they're generating $3.6 billion in annual revenue. And they've had it's up 19%, and it's mainly just because more people are coming on the platform. Because in Asia, they're only getting about $9 per member, and they have 41 million members. Now, if we include China, there's still a massive amount of growth. If we exclude China, there's still a massive amount of growth. 600 million or so people in Southeast Asia, and another 1.4 billion in India. So there's still a huge opportunity not only to grow members, but also to grow the price per member. And then there's Latin America, where they're generating $4 billion, and the best of both worlds. Revenue there is up 27%, and it's coming from rising revenue per user and number of members. This is, of course, the sweet spot for any business when you're growing your number of customers and you're growing the amount that customers are paying on average. And still, there's more upside. Right now, it's $8 per member, which is basically half of what's being paid in the US. Now, you have to adjust for levels of economic development and stuff, but there's still some room there. And 42 million members in Latin America is a pretty big number, but probably still some opportunity to grow. So you could say that a huge amount of growth is coming from Latin America. This is trying to get an understanding of the revenue structure of Netflix. Now, Netflix rise was heavily influenced by Blockbuster's downfall. When I was living in America, we used to go to Blockbuster and rent videos. Blockbuster dominated video rental with physical stores and seized the online streaming market in the beginning. But of course, Netflix took over and trounced Blockbuster, and Blockbuster just couldn't recover, and they couldn't really move into the online. And I think that, to me, this brings up an interesting point, which I just want to highlight. One of the lessons that I've learned about building strategy within a company is that you want to look at the company's DNA and be careful not to build strategy that's far away from the DNA, because it's very possible that the company can't do it or can't do it successfully. And what was the DNA of Blockbuster? It was managing stores. So to switch it to a high-tech online streaming service just was something that wasn't in the DNA. So when you think about your business or a business that you're investing in, and you're asking them to come up with new revenue streams and all that, I think it's important to think about the DNA aspect of it. So let's look further. Why is Netflix so successful? Well, smart worldwide expansion, 100% online platform makes it almost infinitely scalable. This is what's the dream of every single business owner. A variety of options, right? Wide range of movies, TV series, shows, and documentaries. Mainly, I go on Netflix for the documentaries. Flexibility, right? It's available both iOS on Apple phones and Android. And then there's, of course, multiple ways to pay, which is important when you're expanding globally. So here we can see the premium pricing package is about $20 per month. And you can get a picture of basic with ads, basic and standard, and how they're trying to market that globally. Let's just look at some of the most popular shows. These are series or shows with the most hours watched in 28 days. The first one, number one, Stranger Things season 4, 1.4 billion hours watched in those 28 days. Number 2, Wednesday season 1, 1.2 billion hours watched. And number 3, Dahmer, 856 million hours watched. Incredible numbers. Here's an interesting article that I just saw, and this is coming out of Economic Times, and it says Netflix has listed a machine learning product manager position that will compensate between $300,000 and $900,000 a year, making it an extremely high-paid job. You can see that the cost in this business is all about the developers and the technology. That would be nice to get a $900,000 job. Now, the founder, of course, is Reed Hastings. He was born in 1960. He's co-founder and CEO of Netflix, though recently he stepped down, the world-leading streaming service. He co-founded Netflix in 1997, originally as a DVD rental by mail company before streaming. He was inspired to start Netflix after incurring a late fee on a movie rental, sparking the idea for a subscription-based service. Now, he just stepped down as co-CEO in early 2023, and he's going to remain as executive chairman. He's known for his philanthropy and has served on the boards of various educational and nonprofit organizations. So, what is the competitive strength of Netflix? Before we look at that, the company's in the consumer services sector. They've got 12,400 employees and about $32 billion roughly dollars in revenue. And the main segments, of course, are the streaming and the original content. And then they have a little bit of legacy business, which is pretty much gone or not a significant element. Now, the competitive advantage came through streaming media platform, original content, and personalized recommendations. It was achieved by pioneering the subscription-based streaming model, investing in original programming, and using data analytics to optimize user experience and expanding globally. We've seen all of those things come together. I know when I'm on Netflix and I think about what it recommends to me, it's pretty good at recommending. And my mother watches it too, and it's very good at recommending for her too. But the question is the company financially world-class? So here's the method I use as an investor and business owner to measure whether a company has a competitive advantage. The world-class benchmarking scorecard that we developed 10 years ago. We construct the scorecard for any company by first gathering the yearly and quarterly financial data of 26,000 companies worldwide. We then calculate each company's profitable growth score, which is a composite measure of both profitability and growth. And after that, we rank the subject company relative to sector peers of a similar size. It's a decile ranking from 1 best to 10 worst. And a score of 1 or 2 is financially world-class. And we assess the company's performance over the prior 4 years and the past 12 months. So let's see, what about Netflix? In fact, what we can see here is that Netflix has a rating of 1 or 2 in the past 12 months, as well as going back to 2020. Now, 2019, it was a little bit below, but we can say that, in fact, the Netflix is actually seeing the competitive advantage that they've developed through all of the streaming services that they're marketing. So yes, in fact, this company is great. It does have a competitive advantage that we can see in the actual performance. So my question to you, is your company financially world-class? If you own or lead a company with more than $15 million in annual revenue, just comment or DM me and I'll score your company. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what makes this company great, Netflix. Hopefully you learn from this, and feel free to leave any comments in the comments below. Have a great day.